Welcome to the Human Rights Campaign World AIDS Day Summit. I'm Jay Maurice McCann-Spearsall, and I'm the Director of HIV and Health Equity. I'm particularly excited about this panel. This evening, we have with us the legendary and infamous and fierce House of Balenciaga. The House of Balenciaga in the ballroom scene is a force to be reckoned with. This is a house of leaders and activists and fathers and mothers and folks who are on the front lines of ending the HIV battle. So without further ado, allow me to introduce my friend and the moderator for the evening, Emcee Boom Boom Balenciaga.
Yes, get excited. How are you doing, Maurice?
I am good, as always. It's great to see your face, and I'm excited about this panel.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here to have this conversation and just to be here with my ballroom family, who are people that I fight with this fight all the time. I'm just super excited to get into the conversation. So thank you to HRC. We are excited.
Yes, we're excited as well.
Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right on into it. I want to introduce our first person up on the panel for today. He is a member of Balenciaga. His category within the house is trans man realness. He also is from Virginia, and he also has fought for our country. So without further ado, I want to bring up our first person on the panel, Allyn Balenciaga.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're amazing. Next on this beautiful list is another activist out of Atlanta, Georgia. She joined the house. She was a breath of fresh air. She walks runway for the house. And when I say she walks runway, I mean she rips the runway every time she gets a chance. This is Jennifer Barnes Balenciaga.
Hello.
Good morning, sister.
Thanks
How
for
are you?
having me. I am so good. It's so good to see your face. And you too, Allyn.
Yes.
Hi.
Okay. Even if we have to see each other doing work, I love seeing you and I love being around you, Jennifer. And your hair is blooming. We love that hair.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the rocks that keeps all of us together in the House of Balenciaga. He's the East Coast father of the House of Balenciaga. He's been in the house for over 10 years. He's a leader. He's one of my mentors, and he definitely gives us assignments, and we know the assignment. This is the legendary Dante Valenciaga.
Hey family, hey everyone out there viewing. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing well at work. It's fighting the fights of the many.
Okay, that's what I said. You're doing the work right now, so that's amazing. And last but certainly not the least, one of our beautiful women that are in this house, and she hit this house and rocked this house. You can see her; she does a co-star with our overall mother Shannon on her IG stories for Legendary. This is the beautiful, the radiant Miss Brande Valenciaga.
What's going on, Brandy?
Oh,
What's
I
going
miss
on,
y'all so
family?
much. How you doing?
I know.
I'm doing great. And she's from Atlanta, Georgia. Dante's from the District of Columbia. Uh, Brandy, where are
I'm
you
from
from?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Sorry, Brandy. Yeah, Philadelphia, Atlanta, DC, and Virginia are in the building, and we're so excited to be here. So, family, we are here to talk about World It's AIDS Day, to talk about the fight that we do as a house, what we do as community members to fight. And so, my first question, because I want to jump right in, is what is your relationship? What is everyone's relationship with the fight, with the epidemic? Whoever wants to jump in first, we're just having a conversation.
I'll go ahead and talk. Okay, so for me personally, my mother, she's been working in the fight since the 80s. My mom is an internal medicine doctor, and I grew up around people that have had AIDS and HIV my entire life. So it's very personal because I've seen people that have passed away from this virus, and I just take it real personal. So that's my contribution to the fight. That's how it hits me personally.
Okay. And I never knew your mom worked in internal medicine. So we definitely got to meet her. She knows what she's
Yeah.
doing. She's an expert. Okay. Brandy.
Yes. So personally, I've had some friends that have been affected by AIDS, and just creating that safe space for people so they can be able to cope and talk to someone, no judgment or fear there. So that's me.
Period. And Dante, I know you've been doing community work for quite some time, so I know you have a long
Yeah.
resume. So just give us some of your hidden moments
So
for
yeah, like you just said, I've been doing the work for like eons now. Like it's crazy because like probably just like you said, I've been in the house for like 10 years, well over 10 years. I've been doing the work for like over 10 years at this point. And I think the thing about it is, and as we talk about this for World AIDS Day, I think it's for us to really realize it because it is a world issue. It's not a LGBTQ a plus issue. It's not a Black women's issue. It's everyone's issue because whether you're infected or not, you're affected by it because, like you all already said, we all know someone who has been infected with the virus.
Are we frozen?
I think Kirk's frozen.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So I guess I'll just go ahead and move forward. My connection with the epidemic. Wow. Okay. So, personally, I was diagnosed with the virus in April of 2011. So I guess it was something I had to deal with in that standpoint, personally, making sure to take care of myself, which took about half a year because I didn't want to accept it. And then by January of 2012, after receiving an AIDS diagnosis, um, it was time to really understand that either I was going to fight against this and really revel in the fact that I was still here and able to do something for myself, given the new breakthrough medications. They were switching from AAA on to, Stribild and all the rest that came behind it, and decided to do that, and then moved on to the standpoint of thriving with the virus. Under the pretense of teaching others, helping others learn some of the ways that I had learned, after being diagnosed with depression and other issues in that standpoint, and from owning and understanding what my ability was with the person who actually was living with the virus. It moved on into opportunities that would be able to help me further help others see that they could thrive, not just be in sadness, because I was in a great deal of sadness with that. Again, like Allyn, my mother is an RN, a DNP now, DPN now, and I had heard all the horror stories and all the issues that were coming from that standpoint. And so, after contracting and informing my stepmother and father of what happened, their reaction was horrible. But it's wonderful to see that now it's like a 180. I don't want to say a 360 because I'd be back in the same space, but a 180 in order to help and join the House of Balenciaga. And during that time was a big time of me volunteering with different organizations dealing with HIV. So now we're just pushing forward and trying to get more education and get an understanding of how to not fall back into a depression, because that is something that is constantly fought against while still thriving.
Great. And thank you so much for sharing that, Jennifer. I think that many people can relate to your story and then also take a lot from that, especially when you said that 180, because a 360 will be right back where you started. And I think that just goes to show the transformation of the epidemic and of the fight, which we're going to get to that question a little bit later on. So my next question for my family is, so as a house, what are some things that we're doing and some things that we have done to instill education around the epidemic and fighting the epidemic? And I know Dante and Jennifer, you all do work all the time, so I'll let you guys ping pong that. But what are some of the work that we are as a house are doing to make sure that we stay in the fight and make sure that we educate our members on what's going on?
So, the house has a long history with excuse me, being a part of the fight in many different ways, and it's really transformed over the years. Where it started off, where at one point you just had key members like BB, BB, who works in the field, and she would often at meetings, just simple things, bringing condoms and sitting condoms in the bathroom so that people wouldn't feel like they were being judged. They needed to grab them to take them with them during the meeting, after the meeting was over, to, informing people, hey, when the last time that you've gotten tested, go ahead and, you should get tested. So it transformed into a thing of us having house meetings and actually having a testing van outside of the house meeting, where people were able to either come to the meeting early and get tested like while the meeting was going on, or get tested after the meeting, just to know their status and then move on from there. If it's a thing of being linked to care, however that looked, then taking that from that aspect to even at practice spaces, working with like local community organizations, and asking to use their space for practice, and then while they're offering testing and doing things of that nature as well. In addition to that, things like this, working with organizations, and really kind of getting more knowledge, but also sharing the knowledge that we have to help educate the house as well as just the community in general. And I don't want to keep talking too much. I'll let someone else. I know Jennifer probably has something to add to it too.
Well, I really feel like the house has been, well, when I came, a little more personal, coming to the house in Labor Day weekend 2016, the introduction that Mother Lawrence Balenciaga had given was the understanding of one of the main reasons why it was sticking out that I would join the house, which was the work considering the volunteer things I was doing. And at the time I was working with ERC. And so the understanding was during this premise and shift in the house, as Father Dante Valenciaga says, is more on a focus of making sure that we develop and build up the house in a spectrum of understanding that, yes, these people are coming here with talents and the ability that they have, but also making sure that we're bringing people into the house that can help function and elevate the understanding of why us as ballroom participants are even able to continue going forward and to continue to help develop and be martyrs or figures of leadership in this community. And so that to me was central for why I'm so proud to be here in the first place. The continued elevation of being able to showcase how great the people who are within our house who may happen to be living with the virus is really exciting, and something I always look forward to about what's happening next and where we can help and fit into those gaps.
Amazing. Brande, Allyn?
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
All right. So for me, I just joined the house this past year. So I have been able to witness ballroom in its finest, along with our house associating with helping out with the epidemic. I remember for me personally going to in order to get a free ticket, which I thought was very cool, you had to go and get a test done. And that promotes, okay, if I want to go do this fun thing, I have to take care of myself as well. Sometimes we don't think about taking care of ourselves. So it's really great that we can put that back into our community and go, no, 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 first things first, So it's real. I think it's just really important to have those reminders all around.
Love that. And Allyn up next, but I also want you to touch on Allyn, because Allyn did an amazing thing. He brought together men of the trans experience to have conversations about the fight, about the epidemic, things that they go through, and did it on a really big scale. And I was a part of it. I was able to moderate some of those sessions. So kind of pinpoint on those interactions you had, Allyn, and how those have helped you and the other trans men in the community to learn more about the fight and the epidemic.
So I think most of all, ending the stigma, right? because a lot of things, a lot of issues that a lot of people have is the stigma. It's not the virus that's killing people, it's the stigma that's coming from the community. And being able to have open communication and speak more about it, and knowing that there's nothing wrong with you. This is not a death sentence. This is not the end of your life. You just have to leave your life a little different, but that's all. And that's I think that's the best thing I love about our house, is that it caters to the whole person, your mind, your body, your spirit, everything, the whole person concept. We're actually family. It's not just ballroom. I don't mind picking up the phone and calling someone and say, hey, can we talk? And that comes even when it comes down to the virus or anything. And it's not about, oh, well, we don't individualize people. Your family, and that's it. You don't got to worry about being abandoned. You don't have to worry about that other trauma. And so like I said, going back to the stigma aspect of it, we all get around each other and we have a good time and we just parlay, and you don't have to worry about the cares of the world. And that's what I love the most about being with y'all, being with Balenciaga. I can let go of everything else and just be. I don't got to worry about nothing else, just be. And as for the communication, the conversations, the transversations, as we called it, with trans men, as we all know, the medicines aren't tested for people that are assigned female at birth, but yet people that are assigned female at birth need this medication. So we have to have these conversations because our voices need to be heard, because we need that care too. We need to know what it's doing to our bodies. We need to know how it's going to affect us in the long run, by taking these medicines. And it goes from not just antiviral medicines, but also PrEP. Trans men need PrEP. Cis women need PrEP. And you're not telling us how it's going to affect our bodies. So having those conversations, that's what I try to do as much as possible. As far, and also with educating, because you'll be surprised how many people just don't have that conversation. And I've learned through these conversations is that people assigned female at birth, we don't really get talked to about how to care for our bodies. Is pretty much don't get pregnant. But there's so much more out there than just don't get pregnant. And we're not having those conversations. So we're not getting enough education. We're not getting our part done, our due diligence. They're not getting due diligence as far as ourselves and in our bodies. We can't go out here and protect ourselves because we don't know what's out there to protect ourselves from.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much for adding that into the conversation, Allyn. I think that somebody's going to definitely get something from that. I think the comments are going to go crazy. Thank you for bringing that into the space. And I'm so glad that you said holistic. The house gives you a holistic care, because I believe that that's one of the things that helped change the epidemic was focusing on holistic care. If I can't afford to get groceries, if I can't afford to get to my doctor's appointment, if I can't, do those basic human things, then it's going to affect, my part of the fight as well. So Balenciaga definitely focuses on those types of things. And I definitely appreciate that about my house. It makes me want to be not only a better person, but it makes me want to make sure that I am staying on my grind. I'm being a leader in the community, and that I'm making sure that I reach the top tier of whatever I'm doing. Really quickly. Go ahead, Dante.
I was going to say, as you say that, we talk about social determinants and how, if I don't have food or I don't have this healthcare, if I don't have housing, then I'm not going to be able to do this. I think that what we have to understand is the underlying aspect of that, which is racism still in this country and in America. Racism is still very much real. When we look at funding for a lot of organizations that do the work, we see that Black and brown organizations are not getting the same funding that a lot of these predominantly white organizations get, which allow them to do a lot more with resources and funding to be able to end the fight, the epidemic, but also it allows them to be able to take care of things from like the mental health aspect and all of that. Because like you just said, when you look at it, you have to look at the totality of it, from mental health to housing to all of these things play into this fight and this epidemic. You cannot just say use condoms, use PrEP, and we're going to end this epidemic tomorrow. it's going to take every single bit of helping to also get rid of all of the racism, basically eradicating that and fighting against that, changing these policies in which are not reflective of people of color whatsoever, especially Black people specifically. We need more resources, Black organizations that are doing the work in their communities, which is where most of the higher cases are, need the resources. But most times we're not getting the same amount of funding that these other organizations are getting.
Yes, I definitely agree on that point. Jennifer, I saw you at the edge of your seat on that. Did you want to?
Oh, well, I mean, just understanding the different types of streams that are out there for funding. It's continuously something that's specific to, gender, to epidemic, delving deeper into the understanding of social determinants of health and what that can really mean, outside of the factors that you can see, onto the factors of mental health. I noticed last year specifically, I was still working. So a lot of the money and the funding that had been allocated was now creating its own loopholes as far as being able to have mental health days, to have funding that could be released specifically because of the anguish that people were going through during the time of intense COVID is what I'm going to start referring to it now as. And the very fact that those who were sheltered and stuck within their homes, unable to get to work, unable to work, jobs that were lost because of that, the continuous building up of disenfranchisement was so much of an intense issue, especially for those of Black and Brown color. And the sad part about that is it doesn't become an issue until it starts affecting dollars. As we know, the Black dollar is top tier. It is the reason why this country even is able to spin round. Um, and it's sad that we have to scrape and scravel for any type of funding that can come to us, even as far as being able to not be on the same page as our brothers and sisters because of a pot of money. And that is something that is continuously going to push us in the wrong direction if we're looking to have unity during this continued ending of the epidemic.
Definitely. And I think that leads us into my next question for you all, because I don't like bringing up issues and concerns without results. And I know we have some results and some ideas in our heads. I know that funding agencies, pharmaceutical companies utilize the ballroom community to do a lot of, number getting, and what I mean by that is reaching, contractual agreements for their numbers. And so I know that oftentimes we'll see balls where they'll sponsor categories and things of that nature for testing and all those things. What type of partnerships do we want with these different funding agencies as it pertains to ballroom, and what's next moving forward? Like how do we see the epidemic and ballroom moving together holistically as one to benefit us as a community, and for our community also not to feel, used or misappropriated just because, for instance, I feel like ballroom now is when we were on college campus, you would always do a program with the fraternities and sororities if you wanted a big turnout. And so now I feel like that's what we are in the real world. We're houses, so it's like if you want a big turnout, you're going to link up with the ballroom house. So what are your thoughts on that? I
I
see
want to
Brande.
see.
I see
Yeah.
Brande.
I do not mind saying it. Follow protocol. Don't just go to regular members of houses, making sure that you're talking to those parental figures and understanding if someone informs you of the protocol of those parental figures, that you're able to not press onto an individual to do that. it is something that is a disrespect almost to the understanding of a house figure. You know, if that person intends to go forward with that, making sure that that person, when they have that conversation with that parental figure in their own region, because our house goes by region, it depends on how that response comes. Pressuring and only saying that you're going to give money only if that happens is very harmful. It can sour a lot of relationships moving forward. It is much better to take what those individuals are saying, especially those who are following the protocol of their houses, and making sure that you're looking at new and innovative ways to engage with those house members in the houses. So.
Yeah, I think there definitely has to be a balance within how they tread with the ballroom scene, because for so long it was like no, 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 underground, all of that, and now that it's popular and now that it's a thing and it's bright and shiny and it's cool, it's like we also should use them too. You know, like everyone here is a beneficial situation. Everyone should use each other. You know, I don't think it's a one-way direction at this point. I think it's definitely everyone is on the same page in regards to this needs to get out here. People need to be on prep. We need to get the word out. We need to educate. So with ballroom and using this huge voice that we do have, there's got to be a way that we can find a balance without feeling hurt. I feel like, you know what I mean? I don't know how else to put that, because I mean, yes, they are using us, but we have to do the same thing, I think.
Yeah, and I think the to follow through on that, I think the aftermath, like after the ball, where are you? Follow through. Where's the care? Where is the support? Where is the resources for these people? Because they're getting tested, but then what? So someone goes to a ball and they get tested and they find out they're positive, then what? Where's the counseling? Give us counseling for a year. You can start there. Give us free counseling for a year, the whole house, and for us to spread it out as we please. So if someone comes to our ball and they do find out that they're positive, now we can actually care for them. Show us that you care. Don't just use us for numbers, and then there's no follow through after, because these are people. They're not numbers. They're people. So I think that there needs to be some type of relationship where we talk about after the ball. What are we going to do now? Because I don't want just your money is only going to go but so far.
Yeah, so I echo everything that everybody has said so far. I think it has to be a equitable relationship. And I think that, that there's many parts to it, because I think that we also understand that these are businesses. And so, business is going to play a part into it in some form because they are businesses. However, you can still act with integrity and actually still care about what you're doing, even in working as a business. So I think one of the biggest things, like Allyn just said, like, okay, so you go to this ball, you test the people, you get your numbers. Are you following up with them? Are you providing real resources to them? Or are you, at least if you are not a company that can provide those resources, are you linking these people with companies or organizations that can, not just saying, hey, we came and got our numbers, now we're done. I know recently, not that recent, but probably some months back, I was working on a project for a ball, and they were like, yeah, we're going to have such and such come in to do testing, da, 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 da. And for I think for the Maryland people, or it might have been for the DC people, I forgot which way it went, but I was like, okay, so me and the other person was like, okay, so for the people that come out positive, then what? Who then is going to work with them on linkage to care and make sure that they're good, da, da, da. And they were like, oh, well, we didn't think about that piece. So the only part that you actually thought about was getting them tested and finding positives. That's an issue. That's a huge issue. And where I've gotten to within the work now is that when things like that come up, if you can't provide some type of solution, and I don't mind helping to provide the solution, but there has to be a solution, or else I don't want your money. I will walk away from the project. And I think one of the things that us as ballroom people have to do is to not allow them to throw a few dollars in front of our face and then we just go with it, without saying, hey, there needs to be a level of integrity here. We actually care about our people. And if you don't care about our people, then no, find some other way to do this. to Jennifer's point about innovative ways, I think that's extremely important. Long gone are the days that, just use a condom and now get on PrEP is going to be effective. I think bringing these conversations, these resources, this education to ballroom is a step in the right direction, because ballroom is innovative, ballroom is creative. There's so many different ways and things that you can do around it. But how does that look? Does that necessarily mean do the testing at the ball? Maybe not. Maybe it is. And this is something that we've done here in the past, where like we may do house with the most people tested gets a grand prize, but we don't necessarily have them tested at the ball, because for some people, that's not the space they want to be in when they do that. So you go to your local organization days leading up to it, privacy, and confidence, and those things happen. The other part to it is orgs have to stop providing just HIV testing. What about STI testing? People contract more than just HIV. And what happens when you're doing something such as house with the most people tested and you're only testing for HIV and you're not doing full panel STI testing? Then you're excluding these people who may not be out about their status, but now their house members are like, well, girl, come on, let's go do this. And this person's trying to come up with an excuse of why they're not going to go do it, when really it is because they already know their status. The other parts, and I'll wrap it up with this because I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I think as I go back to the equity piece of it, hire ballroom people. There's plenty of intelligent, knowledgeable people within ballroom that you can hire for these different organizations, these different pharmaceutical companies, and that doesn't mean give them some little secretary or desk job or something like that. No, give them real positions and and positions where they're able to be part of the decision making and the creation process, because no one knows ballroom better than we know ballroom. And when you look at it and you look at the demographics of ballroom, we are the exact demographics that all of these people are going after, which is why they continuously want to come to us and often want to give us pennies, but want so much. So be equitable about it. Really actually hire people within the community to actually do the work, because most of us are really doing the work anyway. And I don't even mean like sitting at work now, but in our day-to-day lives, having regular conversations, organic conversations, things like Allyn's panel he did with the trans man. All of these things is doing the work already. Put people like that in places where they can actually make money off of what they're doing, because they're using their skill expertise to basically help you to fulfill these grants and these things that you're getting all of these big dollars for. So hire us. And if they don't have the skills already, start training programs to provide those resources to them, teach them so that they can get these jobs. Because as we go back to it, one of the things that happens is people don't have these skill sets, which is why they, have to often do other things to make money. And so then that leads them up and that puts them more at risk of contracting HIV, if you want to bring it full circle back around. So if you're providing resources, you're providing education and training, then these people are able to go out, or not these people, but us as ballroom people and just people in general, because I think this model can work. This model can work for the world, especially the Black community. Give us the ability and the resources to be able to do the same thing, to make it equitable. We often talk about equality, but we don't talk about equity enough.
Thank you so much, Dante. And I think that all of you touched on some great points, and that all of you gave some conclusions to some ways that we can fix those problems. So thank you for presenting the issue and also presenting a resolution, because I believe that's super important when having these conversations. Now, I want to touch a little bit and ask a question about, I want to make sure I shape it right. So as it pertains to, there's a new generation on the move, on the rise. And as you said, you have to be innovative in your practices. One thing that Allyn touched on, mental health screenings. Now, if we did those at balls, I think that would be amazing for people to come to our balls and sit down and do a mental health screening to even get that follow-up going with that person, who you can then end up testing once you bring them in to do a follow-up, mental session with them. Just getting outside the box. So let's share some outside of the box ideas for the newer generation that's coming. And what does that look like?
I have a few, but in full transparency, some of them I'm not going to share because I also, in the conversation, in the last question, what we just talked about was not giving people too much of our own stuff without being paid for it. And honestly, I feel like if I'm going to if I'm going to tell you what to do to help you be successful, then what are we getting out of it?
Okay, there we go. That's how the new generation feels, and it's very show me, and I'm gonna show you, and so I definitely get that. Brande, Allyn, Jennifer.
Well,
I believe in showing up at least. Showing up for yourself is premier amongst being able to find out what's available. We hear stories all the time about youth and that being as open to a lot of the, I look at us as millennials and then we're looking at baby boomers, right? And we're looking at, can you please let us do what we do with the skill sets we're learning? And I feel like it's almost the same thing that we're coming into with the newer generations. Am I correct? Z, X, X. It's a feeling of almost boxing people, and we can't be catalysts in that continued movement of boxing people. And I do believe that showing up for yourself in spite of what you may feel or think about the situation will definitely give you some more resolve, especially if it's a space that's supposed to provide resources. Because if it's not providing resources, then you can be the person that ends up telling these individuals what's not happening in this space and what you would like to see.
Mhm.
Yeah, show up. Brande,
Mm.
Allyn.
Go, Alan, go.
so I would say stop the fear mongering because this generation is not afraid. So you have to meet them where they're at. They're not afraid. So using the scare tactics, and I think leading with love instead of fear will get much further with this generation.
And yeah, it definitely keeping it human because this generation is very much so connected to phones and things like that as well. So in person, especially at balls and providing that information to them with someone familiar to them, not just, a spokesperson. So offering, I think, directness and information and education will make them more comfortable because they're already fearless, like you said.
Mhm.
They beat to their own drum. There are no boxes with them. Everything is a blurred line. Like with this generation coming up because they do their own thing. Like, and they have all the information to do it. But for some reason, when we deal with self and that mental health and all of that kicks in, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to deal with it. So catching them even at a ball when we're all talking around, we're all having a good time. It's actually one of the perfect times, I think, to be social in that atmosphere, and talking about something very uncomfortable.
Also, I would say ask them because we've gotten to the point where we tell people so much um, what it is they may already know. So it's not doing them any good because they already know. So ask them what it is that they think and what they need. Pull them into the like she said, pull them into the conversations.
Yeah,
Don't just talk at them, talk with them.
yeah.
Oh, get excited. Y'all are definitely some amazing individuals. Here's my last question for everyone on the panel. I want everyone to give me your World AIDS Day statement to the community and to the public. What is something that you want to leave? What is something that you want to say? What is something that you want to charge people with leaving today off of this panel? And we're going to start with Dante, and then we'll go Jennifer, Allyn, Brande.
Something that I want to leave them with. Be a friend, be family, be human. I think that what we have to do is start leading from the aspect of we are all human beings. We are all worthy of love. And if we begin to love on each other and support each other in every aspect of the way, we will get so much further in ending this epidemic quicker because we're actually showing um, humanity and love to one another. Because again, like I said in the beginning, whether you're infected or not by this, you're affected because someone around you has had to deal with it in some type of form of the way. So be a human, be loving, and be a friend.
Amazing. Jennifer,
Oh, be kind to yourself. A lot of what I've learned, COVID really changed a lot for me. I'm gonna be honest. It's interesting, you know, the multitude of things that life consists of. We almost let it overtower so many blessings that were right in front of our faces. And for me, honestly, what I would leave people with is be kind to yourself. Allow those things that are tangible, able to be touched, seen, or felt, is is worth loving. They're worth enjoying, and they're worth knowing better. You know, even if that means knowing yourself better. Be kind.
thank you. Allyn,
Okay, I would say if not you, then who? Meaning, if you won't fight, then who should fight? Because we're all worth it. We all deserve it. You know, this is your family. We're all family. So show up, be accounted for. Show people that you care. You know, I would just charge people, just be bold. That's what ballroom is, right? Ballroom is art through the concrete. Like ballroom finds a way. If there ain't no way, ballroom will find a way. So then show up, be accounted for.
love that. Brande,
Ah, I'm going to go ahead and just say the obvious, which is love. You know, love yourself, love others, be kind to yourself, spend time with yourself, get to know yourself. Oh, get to know yourself. It's so important before we can even touch anyone else to just make sure we understand who we are
yes,
and make sure our energy is pure and kind and loving. Meditate and make sure you just keep fighting with love, you know, not
yeah,
hate, not anger. I mean, we're not going to understand everything that's happening, but to be there for someone else is, there's nothing else like that. So just be good. Just be good individuals.
well, you all are great individuals. You all are so amazing. I want to thank my fellow house members for being a part of this panel, for showing the people how we are being Balenciaga. I also want to give a huge shout out to the Human Rights Campaign, not only for bringing us to be a part, but for allowing us the space to bring ourselves and to do the work. I worked on another program with HRC where we have brought HBCU students from across the country to be a part of ballroom and to teach them and show them ballroom. And they gave us the space to kind of show them. And recently, seeing students that have transitioned and all types of things are showing us that the work that we're doing in ballroom is creating a space for people to feel open, free, and themselves. And it's no place like that to be able to feel that. So I'm thankful that we could share that with all of the people today on World AIDS Day. And I'm just so thankful to HRC and Jay Maurice once again. So let's go ahead and get excited.
Thank you so much, Kirk, or MC Boom Boom Balenciaga. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. This has been an amazing panel. I think the community has learned a lot. For me, I think it's really important, particularly in the space that I hold in the organization in which I sit, that if we're going to have conversations and meaningful conversations around ending the HIV epidemic, we have to have conversations with the folks who are actually on the ground doing the work. Come on, Jennifer. I see it. I see it. Right, come on. Like we have to have conversations with the organizations and the people who are on the ground doing the work, right? Dante does the work, Allyn does the work, Jennifer does the work, Brande does the work, Kirk does the work. Like we have to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do and bringing them into the fold, particularly when we sit in these white spaces that have access to or their hands on resources, right? How do we make sure that communities that are disproportionately impacted actually have a seat at the table? This is a part of the table, right? This is a seat at the table because we're allowing this platform or taking over this platform to making sure that folks that don't look like us know what our community has to deal with, right? And where the opportunities to engage in a meaningful way, right? Like to Allyn's point, not these one touch go kind of engagements and we don't see you no more, where you're using us, right? And pimping us in many ways for our resources, our services, but more importantly, you're pimping our pain, right? So this is our opportunity to really rewrite that narrative, which is the theme of this World AIDS Day Summit. So again, I just want to say thank you to you all for participating today. And I'm looking forward to working with you all in the future. I've worked with everybody on this call before except Brande. So this is this is our opportunity to kind of like, build a relationship here. So again, looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you so much for all the work you do. Thank you for being Balenciaga.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.